Hey everyone, real quick before we start the actual video, just a huge thank you and just massive amounts of thanks and praise. We literally just dinged our 1,000th subscriber on YouTube, and we just passed 100,000 mark in total views. That's especially thanks in part to the 5-second PlayStation video and my Fallout Game Store video, which I figured was just for fun, but hey, this is what happens when you make the front page of Kotaku. Just a huge thanks, guys. I cannot wait to see what goes on for the rest of the year and into 2017. Let's begin. Hey everyone, it's Jason from Game-Rave.com, and this is Game-Rave TV. So thanks to a lot of our viewers and social media followers, we've assembled an amazingly healthy idea list of top 5 episodes. Today we get to cross off one of those entries with the top 5 gimmicky games on the PlayStation. For those of you longtime viewers of Game-Rave TV, you'll definitely recognize a few of them. Now, before we start though, an honorable mention goes out to Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories. You could import cards from the real-world deck using serial numbers found in the actual playing cards. Regretfully, the game was just too much to handle without reading the manual. That being said, let's talk gimmicks, shall we? First, let's get the absurdly obvious one out of the way, Metal Gear Solid. From having to switch controller ports, to reading your memory card saves, to having to use the actual back of the case to figure out Meryl's codec number, Hideo and crew pulled out every possible trick they could, a feat that truly, really hasn't been replaced since. Next up, a game, or shall I say series, you'll definitely remember from the 27-letter game, Monster Rancher. For those of you who missed our journey into the alphabet, Monster Rancher is a game series that took creating to an entirely new level. Using other PlayStation games, music CDs, or even blank CDRs, Monster Rancher could basically create a monster from codes on the discs, and then use that monster you created in-game. This was further improved by certain Tecmo games creating in-game versions of their star characters, like a football golem if you use Tecmo Bowl. This creation process carried over into the card battle game, allowing CDs to create various in-game cards. Next up, a gimmick that started, and truthfully failed, over 30 years ago, the floor mat. While Nintendo tried it with world-class track meet and dance aerobics, it wouldn't be until Konami struck gold with their Dance Dance Revolution game. Starting off as an arcade game where you jump on arrows that match the screen, Konami brought the game home with their own dance mat. That mat, in and of itself, created an entire sub-industry in the accessory field. Everything from thicker mats, metal mats, foam mats, clearly Chinese knockoff mats, and more. Now, since we're talking about games that had accessories to their crimes, our number 4 spot is also an accessory game. In fact, if DDR created an entire sub-industry, Ape Escape damn near created the future. Featured in our 20th anniversary series, Ape Escape was the first game in PlayStation history that required the DualShock. Now, while it might sound odd for those of you who started out in PlayStation 2s or 3s, you have to understand, the DualShock started its life as an optional accessory. The game required you to use one stick to move and one stick to swat the net and bat. The reason Ape Escape makes it to our gimmick list is that it was a required gimmick that stuck, and ended up revolutionizing the controller industry all the way to present day. That being said, charging $65 for a controller is one gimmick they'll never top. And last but certainly not least is the ultimate gimmick game for PlayStation, one that most of you have probably never heard of. The reason I kept this game for last is because it's in its own way, especially looking back, it was basically the Mass Effect game I didn't know I had. That game, of course, is Sentient. So let's go back 20 years, rounded up of course. The PlayStation, if nothing else in its storied history, was a playground for developers. While other games were trying to snap in new graphics or tag you with new accessories, Sentient went for a more cordial approach. This was a game you had to win with words, not weapons. Stuck on a space station heading towards the sun, the game required you to quite literally form sentences based on the first and sometimes second word choice. These sentences would create the interaction between the NPCs and the game. Now, considering all that background processing going on with your choices, something had to give, and that was the graphics. A bizarre combination of scanned-in faces and simple geometric bodies, Sentient can look like an acid trip's worst nightmare. The game is by no means easy, and it can be incredibly off-putting, but if you give it half a chance, its sentence creation is a gimmick that's been overly simplified as time has gone on, but more importantly, stood aside for my favorite game series of all time. Alright guys, that does it for the first and hopefully many top 5 lists. We will see you guys next week on... Hey, I've got 2 shows now. Who knows what you'll see me on? Haha. Take care, guys. We'll see you next week.